JD Vance just got booed out of San Diego, and no, it wasn't just a protest, it was a full public rejection. We come to this later. While he hobnobbed at a high-dollar fundraiser, a tragedy was unfolding in Texas, and the silence from Trump's camp was deafening. But as Jessica Tarlov lays out, the story goes far deeper than political optics. It's about lives lost, lies told, and a broken system too many are ignoring. Take a listen.
Take it from me. Listen, this is one of the more devastating stories that I think we've had to cover as a mother of two daughters that are going to go to camp at some point. I cannot even imagine what that feels like. I've been reading the testimonials, especially about the fathers and grandfathers that are walking around that camp looking for a thermos with their kid's name on it or some sign that they were there. Maybe they find a body of another camper, maybe they find their own child or grandchild. Unimaginable. I'm so sorry for them, and I'm sorry for any hurt that any comments about this tragedy has caused these families. I don't think that talking about preparedness or what might have helped qualifies as impugning the memory of those that have been lost or detracting from the thoughtful conversation that needs to take place, because this river has been flooding for a very long time. There are a number of instances in this. And we were here around the table when Hurricane Helene struck, and I did not hear Jesse Waters, who I'm thrilled is back around the table, saying that Donald Trump should stop spreading lies about the Biden administration and the FEMA funds. Trump came out and he said, they're giving your FEMA dollars to illegals. They're housing them with your FEMA dollars. Then he said, you're only going to get $750 from FEMA, which was a complete lie. And there are Republican officials who have testified to the fact that people did not get their FEMA assistance because of what Trump and other Republicans were saying. You also don't need to trust or go to Democrats to politicize it. You can look at this GOP state rep, Wes Verdell, who said that he would have voted differently on a bill that was before the House last year. I think it was House Bill number 13, that was going to add more money for disaster response and better alert systems, radio towers, et cetera. There are over $54 billion in identified needs in terms of disaster resistance when it comes to these kinds of flash floods that state officials are asking for, and the GOP legislature has rejected them. That is something that they can work on to move forward and hopefully avoid a tragedy like this again.
Jessica Tarlov nailed it. This is a heartbreaking tragedy, and pretending it isn't tied to political decisions is both dishonest and deeply disrespectful to the grieving families in Texas. Criticizing policy failures that may have contributed to the loss of life isn't about scoring points. It's about accountability and making sure we don't have to watch this happen again. Jessica laid out clearly how Donald Trump and the GOP have politicized disasters for years. During Hurricane Helene, Trump immediately spread false claims that FEMA money was being diverted to undocumented immigrants. He said victims would only get $750, a complete lie. Republican officials later testified that these disinformation campaigns directly interfered with aid efforts. It caused confusion and delays at a time when people needed help fast. Meanwhile, a bill that could have added disaster response resources like emergency alert systems and reinforced infrastructure was blocked by the GOP and the state legislature, even though over $54 billion in needs had already been identified. Now, with another natural disaster taking lives, Trump has gone silent. He isn't showing up. He isn't offering help. He's nowhere. And people are right to call that out. That's also why JD Vance is under fire, skipping town during a crisis to attend a fundraiser in San Diego while his constituents were suffering. It's tone deaf and revealing. We'll get into exactly why that trip caused so much backlash and what he had to say when confronted. This isn't over. Let's get into this.
JD Vance is headlining an RNC fundraiser in San Diego today per invite. Tickets for the roundtable are going for $50,000 per couple. The VP spent the weekend in Southern California and received an award at the Claremont Institute. Okay, JD. And that is why Vance, as he was leaving a nice little sushi restaurant, got such a not so warm welcome.
Go to the Hague! Fuck you! fuck out of here!
That scene was absolutely satisfying. JD Vance rolling out of his sushi dinner in San Diego, getting loudly and publicly booed by everyday people who clearly had no patience for his presence. The crowd wasn't small either. This wasn't just one or two hecklers. This was a real public rejection. Why? Because while Texans were reeling from devastating floods, JD Vance was off schmoozing at a $50,000 per couple RNC fundraiser far away in sunny California. The same guy who constantly rails against coastal elites was out west getting awards and sipping sake, all while people in his own party refused to pass disaster relief that could have helped his constituents. The hypocrisy isn't just glaring, it's insulting. And let's not forget, Trump still has the National Guard deployed in California, a move that looks even worse as people in Texas face emergencies without adequate federal response. This is mismanagement at its most arrogant. Meanwhile, Trump's spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt tried spinning the silence, and she got torched for it on CNN. That moment is next, and it's worth every second.
And Kristen, over to you at the White House. You were at the White House briefing earlier. You asked, I think, a really critical longer-term question to Caroline Leavitt. Explain what that was.
Yeah, Phil, this is all about FEMA. So just remember, last month, President Trump essentially announced that he was going to be phasing out FEMA after hurricane season. Now, he was asked to follow up on that yesterday, given the fact that FEMA is on the ground in Texas. He was non-committal, but we heard the state and local officials praising the federal response and the federal aid, including FEMA. So I followed back up with Carolyn Leavitt about this. Here's the exchange. Is President Trump reconsidering his plan to phase out FEMA, given what officials have said is their critical role on the ground now in Texas?
Look, the president wants to ensure American citizens always have what they need during times of need. Whether that assistance comes from states or the federal government, that's a policy discussion that will continue. And the president has always said he wants states to do as much as they can, if not more. And in the case of Texas, the state and local officials are doing a tremendous job.
So not really answering the question there. In fact, another reporter tried to follow up on my question later, and she said she'd already answered it. But as you can hear, she does not actually answer the question of whether or not they're going to phase out FEMA. The other part of this is that Carolyn Leavitt came in saying that anyone who was questioning the cuts and whether or not these government cuts played a role in what happened in Texas, anyone who said that this wasn't just a once-in-a-lifetime natural disaster was playing political politics. She said that people were pointing fingers in a partisan way. And I will say, Phil, one other thing that I asked is that we saw President Trump over the weekend calling Elon Musk a train wreck, essentially saying that he was erratic, he was all over the place. So I did ask if there was any concern over some of the decisions that Doge made while Musk was advising them on cuts, which would include the National Weather Service. She said no, and she pushed back that those cuts could have done anything. But it is interesting to look at that moving forward in terms of cuts that were made under Musk, if we continue to hear President Trump saying that effectively Musk is unhinged.
Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about this disaster, not because he's too busy, but because he simply doesn't care. His FEMA phase-out plan isn't just reckless, it's part of a bigger pattern, dismantling the systems designed to help people, then walking away when those people suffer. And when pressed about it, Caroline Leavitt offers nothing but vague, evasive spin. It's classic Trump world deflection. Pretend you're being decisive while avoiding the question entirely. This isn't about playing politics. This is about asking real questions after a real tragedy. The public deserves to know if government decisions, including reckless cuts pushed by Elon Musk while advising Trump, contributed to this disaster. And with Trump now calling Musk a train wreck, the chaos within their camp is becoming undeniable. The irony, FEMA is doing its job on the ground while Trump world tries to erase its value in Washington. Luckily, one voice at MSNBC decided to step up and deliver the message Caroline couldn't. Jen Psaki did her job and then some. Let's watch.
Just assume he just doesn't care, as long as the bill is cutting taxes for the highest earners and biggest companies in this country. That's what this is about. That's why he wants to get the bill passed. Okay, next question. I might regret this, but maybe not. Go for it, Peter Doocy, Fox News.
Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported?
Okay, my instincts were right on that one, but I'm going to give it a little go. Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported? The guy who just won the Democratic mayoral primary in New York City. I mean, honestly, my answer is probably yeah. Mamdani is a charismatic, energetic politician. He has inspired or hyped up millions of Democrats in politics right now. Not something you really want if you're a Republican president. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Donald Trump wants to somehow make him disappear, whether it is by deportation, which is crazy, or some other kind of presidential voodoo. I don't even know. It's not even the only reason is a thing. Don't forget that the current mayor of New York, Eric Adams, was going to be criminally prosecuted for a whole bunch of felonies until Donald Trump leaned on the Justice Department to make that prosecution go away. Trump is the mayor of New York under his thumb right now. If Mamdani unseats Eric Adams, it's not only bad news for Eric Adams, probably bad news for Donald Trump, too. That's probably a factor.
Jen Psaki nails it again, cutting through Trump's smokescreen with sharp analysis and a bit of well-placed sarcasm. Her commentary highlights how Trump's motivations aren't grounded in policy or public service, but in power, control, and personal interest. The idea that Trump might want Zoran Mamdani, a rising progressive star, deported while absurd on its face, fits his pattern of targeting political threats with whatever tools he can grab, from pressuring DOJ to drop cases against his allies or enemies, to propping up compliant politicians like Eric Adams. It's all about stacking the deck in his favor, and Psaki makes it clear. Trump doesn't want a strong, independent New York. He wants a loyal one. She's not just pointing out Trump's corruption, she's connecting the dots most won't. And just when you think she's done, she lands one more great point. Stick around for what she hits next.
Okay, let's take one more. John Fredericks, take us home.
Let's get to the one big beautiful bill first. It appears now you're going to get at least 50 votes in the Senate. There'll be some amendments. What is the president's confidence level in getting 218 votes in the House by the end of this week in order for him to sign it on Friday?
I mean, we're not in a sane political universe, John, but let me just start by saying in a sane political universe, it shouldn't be high at all. I mean, Trump's little buddy, Speaker Johnson, seems nervous, in large part because there are two warring factions within his own party in the House. The first group made up of members of the Freedom Caucus who think the bill is way too expensive, and the other who think it's not expensive enough because they want a higher SALT deduction cap. So that's challenging because both of those things cannot happen at once. One side is not going to get their way, which should, in a sane political universe, make the path to 218 very uncertain right now. That said, Republicans in Congress are not exactly known for their spines of steel these days, so we'll see how this goes. In the meantime, a quick reminder, though, there are a whole lot of Republicans in Congress who just barely eked out a win last November, who are vulnerable in purple districts. And the midterms is not that far away. You know what? I think I kind of get the prop thing now. I'm just going to say, here's a little prop for everyone of districts to pay attention to. I even signed it, just like Donald Trump did. Some districts for people to pay attention to.
Jen Psaki delivers another sharp takedown, highlighting the utter dysfunction inside today's GOP, where Speaker Mike Johnson can't even count on his own party to pass what should be a celebratory bill. The Republican split is clear. The MAGA wing wants to slash everything in sight, while more moderate members are trying to salvage something that might help them survive the next election. Psaki's point is simple, but devastating. This party is not legislating, it's spiraling. And while Trump claims to be calling the shots, even his closest allies are panicked behind the scenes. Psaki's prop moment is more than a gimmick. It's a reminder that there are real districts and real voters who are watching all this play out. And for some Republicans, their days in office are numbered. This dysfunction is catching up fast. If you're finding these breakdowns useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And what comes next? Let's just say it might involve a meltdown caught on camera.